Faisal Al-Mikdad, Syria's Deputy Foreign Minister, thank you very much for being with us today, sir.
Happy to be with you.
Now, according to UN human rights reports, over 3,000 people have been killed in Syria ever since the protests started in March. For how long will Syria keep on losing its people?
I think the question should be the opposite. The question should be what's happening in Syria. Of course, the credibility of some international non-governmental organizations have been lost because they don't take into consideration what's really happening. No one of these organizations has said that Syria has lost more than 1,150 martyrs from the army and the security forces. Do you think, this is the correct approach? Absolutely not. Yes, many civilians were killed, assassinated, but people have to ask the question, who killed them and why they were killed? The criminals our security forces were able to detain have themselves admitted that they were killing demonstrators in Syria to keep the pace of demonstrations going on. Not only that, but some of those criminals said they were killing people to keep, for example, the illegal building of houses in certain areas because they cannot violate the law if the demonstrations were not there. So these are the cases. However, we believe the killing of a single person is too much.
You believe that the life of one person is already crucial, and these clashes, they still keep taking place. Could you say that Syria is at a state of a civil war?
No. Those who are provoking these developments want Syria to go through a civil war. And you know, the complexity of the Syrian population is so deep because this is the history of Syria. We have something from everything. We have the three monotheistic religions. Within each religion we have all the denominations. So those who are behind these developments want really to lead the country into a civil war, particularly when we correctly define those forces behind the developments that are going on. I'll tell you, those are religious extremists, Salafists, drug traffickers, and smugglers. They have been provided with up-to-date technology of communication by the well-known forces from outside Syria, and financing of terrorism and terrorist action has taken place. So much billions of dollars were smuggled into Syria to encourage people to disturb the peace in the country, and not to mention the tens of thousands of weapons that have been also smuggled into the country from Turkey, from Lebanon, from Iraq, and all neighboring countries.
Can you really say that the whole opposition is made of pure Islamists and there are no civilians who are just fighting for a better life?
Absolutely not. This is my answer, because we have opposition from inside the country. Syria, the Syrian leadership has recognized that there is opposition, and we have to take into account the views of the opposition and to work together with this opposition to build the new Syria.
Your government is actually maintaining dialogue with the opposition. You've actually fulfilled some of their demands as well. But you cannot just disregard that the uprisings in Syria are taking place on a backdrop of numerous uprisings and revolutions that took place in the Arab world. And no one ever thought Mubarak's regime would be put down. No one ever thought Ben Ali would be ousted. No one ever thought anyone could touch Gaddafi. You cannot just think that Syria is a complete different story when these events are taking place at the same time. Do you think something like this could happen in Syria?
Of course, we recognize mistakes, and we recognize the fact that the reform process did not start as it was expected to start. These are realities. We have to accept them. What we do not expect is the fact that things develop in such a way, in such a violent way, in a way that contradicts with the spirit of the Syrian people.
Social media has played a crucial role in Egypt. How is that affecting Syria?
It also, played a big role. We have confiscated, in the cars of many diplomatic missions in Syria, a lot of these, mobiles and so on. Yes, the social media was used, and it seems to me it was used in a negative way, but the government did not impose any restrictions under instructions of President Assad, on the use of social media.
And also that the conflict between the ruling Alawites and the Sunni majority has lingered on for decades. Do you think that neglect has in some way contributed to the uprisings and the conflict?
This is a very dangerous question. In Syria, we don't think of minorities and majorities. This is a recipe for the disintegration of the country. We don't speak such a language. In Syria, everybody has the right to be a president. In Syria, everybody has the right to be a prime minister. You know, throughout our history, the first prime minister was a Christian Orthodox. What's wrong with that? And now they are trying to mislead the Syrian people, to mislead the international public opinion, to speak about certain issues which main objective is to divide the Syrian people, and this is where we differ from Egypt and from others. In Syria, we have a political system that defends the sovereignty of the country, and in Syria, we are under such an attack because we say no to the policies of the United States in the region, supporting subjugation of the region into their interest, and serving the major interests of Israel.
Can we talk a little bit about NATO? Because you know how NATO is very cynical when it comes to the choice of interfering in one country or another. Why do you think it's not touching Syria or not touching Syria
Because
yet?
they for the time being, they cannot touch Syria. If they knew that, going to Syria is easy, they will do it. We think they cannot because the entire region is against this. In Libya, when they interfered, under the pretext of human rights and protecting the Libyan people, I think even if Gaddafi lives 100 years more, he will not kill a small number of the people NATO has killed. More than 50,000 people were killed by NATO. I think those who committed these crimes should go to international courts. When the NATO implemented that resolution in 1973, the way they did it in a criminal way, Russia said no, China said no. The majority of Security Council members said no. Russia is only working in the interests of Syria. We believe Russia is working also in the interests of world peace and security and in the interest of Russian interests and Russian policies as a peaceful power, as a great power that wants to maintain peace and security in the entire world. If they manipulate the situation in the Middle East, they will do it everywhere in the world. And it has become very clear, the issue in Libya is an issue of oil. And those countries are rushing now to divide the gains of the war among themselves.
Your Excellency, from what it seems from the outside, also the events that are taking place in your country are affected by outside players. For instance, Turkey. Turkey wants to be a leading power for the Sunnis in the region, and we know that Sunnis form the core of the opposition in Syria. Also, we know that Turkey provides support for the oppositional Syrian National Council. Are we seeing double standards here? Can Turkey use this whole thing to its advantage?
I'm taking your question. I'm not taking the reality. If the Turkish government would pursue its policies in the imperial way, according to the Ottoman systems, then they commit a big mistake for Turkey and for the position of Turkey in the entire region. Who told them they are, the custodians of Sunnis in the entire world? Nobody has the right to interfere under whatever so pretext, including Turkey, if they want to interfere under this guise, because this is a big mistake.
It's not just Turkey, though. Syrian TV has aired an interview with a captured terrorist who admitted receiving aid from Saudi Arabia and Jordan. Why would these countries want chaos in the region?
Here you have touched upon a very sensitive issue, the financing of terrorism. And until now, at least we don't say officially that, the Saudi government or the Jordanian government or the Lebanese government or the Turkish government are financing these groups, terrorist groups. But we believe money is coming from these countries, from non-official circles. Our appeal to our brothers and sisters in all these countries is not to allow that, because under the United Nations, this is called financing of terrorism. They are sending money to kill Syrians, and I believe this should be stopped.
Since the clashes are still taking place and the protests are still going on, what do you perceive for the near future in Syria? What's going to happen?
Of course, you are right when you said there are still some clashes between those terrorist elements and the police and security forces. We hope they stop, because, as I said, the killing of a single Syrian is a big tragedy. Now, you will ask me, okay, what's the way out? The way out are the reforms. President Assad has put on the table a comprehensive plan of reforms. So the whole process is a matter of 3-4 months, and then the new Syria will emerge.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for this interview.
Thank you.